Can you believe that BET's Rap City has been around or was around for 19 years and they're now doing a documentary about it? I don't know about you, but I feel young. Joining us today is Alvin Jones. He was actually the creator of the hit TV show. Many of you know about Big Tigger, but there were so many other people before him. Tigger took it to another level, but Rap City was so integral to hip hop because it showcased new artists. It played music videos. It gave people an opportunity to just veg out and enjoy the music. Brother Alvin Jones joins us. Welcome to the show, my brother.
Hey, man, it is my pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having me on the show. This is a joy. This is an absolute joy. I'm honored.
Thank you, sir.
I called my mother and told her I was going to be on the show.
I figured tell your mother I said hello. But I'll tell you what, when I look at the significance of Rap City, I'm entranced because it really just seemed like a simple concept as far as barbershop talk, but at somebody's house. What inspired this creation of this iconic program?
All right. To be real honest, let's go back, way back in time. 1963. I was 4 years old. My parents, my cousins, they were at the March on Washington. I'm watching it on TV and I'm looking at this TV and all these people. There are 250,000 people. And I'm trying to find my parents. I'm 4 years old. I'm looking for my mommy and my daddy. And it wasn't until about maybe 15 years ago I realized that's when I found my purpose. I understood the value of media and the need to get involved in purposes that are bigger than yours. So let's fast forward. Growing up in high school, I wanted to have the first Black television network. And it was expensive because back then a television camera was like $60,000. The lens was like 15. So think about it, in 1977 money, if you wanted a TV studio, just the three cameras would cost you $250,000. So wanted to have the first Black television network. Didn't get it, but I got a chance to work for the first Black television network. So now let's look at this. Bob Johnson hires me and I'm thinking, oh, this is great. And the first day, BET went from 20 people to 40. So I was either employee number 21 or employee number 40 in between that. And Bob said, first day, my goal is to make BET the predominant source for advertisers to reach the African-American community. So I knew exactly what was going on. Bob was focused, and that's why he's a billionaire, because he was focused. He knew exactly what he wanted, and he stuck to it. But he also let me understand. I'm like, oh, this is the business of show, not show business. So Video Soul was the flagship of BET. Mm-hmm. Donnie Simpson. Everybody wanted to sit on Donnie Simpson's couch. Mm-hmm. Even between my Video Vibration show, I'd come out and hang out with the folks and I'd sit on Donnie Simpson's couch. They're like, yo, man, don't you have your own show to do? I'm like, okay, see y'all tomorrow. So that was the place where advertisers were comfortable because you saw the Shaka Khans, you saw the Billy Oceans, you saw the Michael Jacksons, the Princes, the Luther Vandrosses, the Anita Bakers. So that was safe. However, hip hop was something that was more street and people didn't understand. So they basically said, oh, we're going to put this hip hop into Alvin's show, Video Vibrations. But Video Vibrations was 4 hours. So remember, during that time, there weren't any Black videos. So by the time Video Soul did 2 hours, we didn't have anything to work with. So we were playing pop stuff. I'm playing Billy Joel. I'm playing Duran Duran. I'm playing, who else I'm playing? Corey Hart. I wear my sunglasses at night. And there were a few Black videos. You had the Disco 3, and they became the Fat Boys. You had Jermaine Stewart. It's funny, I saw a picture of him in that song, We Don't Have to Take Our Clothes Off. Billy Ocean's Caribbean Queen, but you also had Houdini and different rap acts. You know, remember that? The Freaks Come Out at Night.
Oh, of course.
FO, Cole Wanna Be With Me. And so to play it safe, Bob said, you know what? We're going to stick this in Video Vibrations. And so I go up to New York. And at that time, Lionel Martin and Ralph McDaniel had Video Music Box. Mm-hmm. It was jam. People loved that show. It was hype. So the channel that BET was on was at that time was being split. So during the day, you saw them, and then you saw Video Soul at night, but you didn't see Video Vibrations. You didn't see us playing rap videos unless you were up at midnight. And most people had it.
If I can
Huh?
interject, that was back when BET was only 8 hours a day, correct?
No, no, no. BET was 8 hours a day until October 1st,
Okay,
1980.
gotcha,
But they still split the channel.
gotcha.
Um,
Okay.
it's funny because now that you mentioned that, October 1st was the day that BET went 24 hours. That's when Video Vibrations debuted. And guess what? The
Huh.
first I played was Prince's When Doves Cry.
Wow, that's
So,
big.
so we're in the New Music Seminar, and we are, everybody's talking about how we don't play hip hop. I'm like, yeah, we can play hip hop. I don't know what you're talking about. So Hank Shockley and Public Enemy, we're in the lobby on the 8th floor of the Marriott Marquis, and Ice-T is standing right next to us, right? And Hank and I are going back and forth because, New York is always bold. But, before my parents moved to the suburb, I lived in Ward 7 in Washington, D.C. So I lived
Mhm.
between two projects, Eastgate and Simple City. So if you live in apartments and you don't live in the projects, you got to be tough because both of them are coming at you. So I try to be fair, but at the same token, I'm going to stand up for myself. So Hank and I are going back and forth. You're not playing help. Yes, I am. Well, you're not playing Dougie Fresh. I'm like, man, you don't know what you're talking about. I just talked to his manager, Dennis. I want him to be a guest host. Well, you're not playing certain videos. I'm like, listen, I am not playing videos where they're grabbing their Johnsons and calling women the H and the B's words. He says,
Right.
oh, Spencer. I said, no, I'm a gatekeeper. My Aunt Maddie was watching my show. My aunt was 89 years old. And I'm like, I'm not getting the call from my aunt. And so it was interesting because of that, Hank took that. And remember the night of the Living Bassheads video with Public Enemy? It was because of that conversation. And that was, bass, how low can you go? And it talked about crack being in the neighborhood and the whole 9 yards. And so what I said is, long before Bruno Mars, I'm like, don't believe me, just watch.
Right.
So you're not playing rap. I said, tell you what, I'm gonna do a week of rap. And then if it ain't rap, it's a commercial. I don't want to hear your voice. I don't want to hear no noise. And I knew that to do this, it needed to be before school started. So you remember, back in the day, school did not start in the fall until after Labor Day. So that week before Labor Day,
Right.
decided that we were going to go ahead and do a week worth of rap. And so I went to the video department for BET, not the video department, the promotions department. And they said to me, they were like, we don't think we need to promote this. Fine. So we do rap week. Guess what? Highest ratings in the history of BET.
Mhm.
And so then we did one between Christmas and New Year's. And what we did, BET was partially owned, but only 16%. Bob Johnson had, with all the partners, had 15% ownership of BET, which I thought was good because it was always majority Black owned, but he needed partners, right? So HBO was one of the partners, and the sales department would be a part of HBO sales. And then they got their own office. So James Ebron, who was the vice president of sales for BET, said, oh, you can use our office. So he gave us a brand new office worth of tape for the second rap week. So we had one room where the artists would come in and do the interviews. So we had Dougie Fresh, we Get Fresh Crew, we had Eric B, we had MC Light, we had Fat Boys, we had the Jungle Brothers. Q-Tip was still with the Jungle Brothers at that time. Who else do we have? Shinehead. I mentioned Kid and Play, Sweet Pea, Audio 2, and Milk, and all of those scenarios. But what was interesting, the building, there wasn't a lot of furniture. So you got all of these rap artists just sitting on the floor, waiting in line. It's kind of like, I'm down here at Atlanta. Can you imagine Hartsfield, Jackson Hartsfield Airport, the day given, and everybody's in line trying to take off. So you got all of these rap artists that are just sitting here waiting to get on, to go into that room to be on Video Vibrations Rap Week. And so James Ebron saw, looks like you guys are going to be here for a while. I'm like, yeah. And he ordered pizza and sodas. So everybody's sitting on the floor eating pizzas and sodas waiting for their turn. And so we aired that between Christmas and New Year's, and boom, guess what? highest ratings in history of BET.
You waited to do that when all the kids were home from school, or right before they were going into school during the summer fall
Right.
transition, and then you did it during Christmas break.
Right, because here's what I realized. Even though we're 4 o'clock in New York and Philadelphia and DC, in Seattle, in LA, San Diego, it's 1 o'clock, so kids would still be in school. So I wanted to be able to do it where everybody could watch. And so that was the time because, it's a break from school. What y'all gonna do? Oh man, BET's doing rap. What? And the other thing is you had young folks who had the chance to see people like themselves. Now, I remember growing up, I watched Ed Sullivan's show. So with Ed Sullivan, I got the chance to stay up late if somebody black was on TV. So 5, 6, I know what it's like to see my own people on TV. And I wanted to give that same thing. So now, New Edition comes out, Johnny Gill joins, they do the Heartbreak. And for that album release, we did a special, like an EP Cave 30-minute piece. I don't know if it's 30 minutes or an hour, but boom, everybody loved New Edition. And they're coming on the comeback. So boom, now the highest rated show in the history of BET is my boys, New Edition. So now we know there's that spring break. Earlier that year, I went to the Super Bowl in San Diego. That's when Doug Williams, first black quarterback in MVP Super Bowl. And so whenever I traveled into another city, I would always go by the radio stations and talk to them. And they would be going, hey, it's Alvin Jones from BET. How you doing? Hey, man, I'm in town, da, 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 da. So I go to the San Diego radio station XRM, and I see this guy that's coming in. Because remember back then, they didn't play rap on radio. If they did it at night, it was a mixed show, and it didn't come on to after midnight, right? So I meet this guy, gives me a cassette. I go home and listen to it. It's MC Hammer. I'm like, oh. So now the video comes in, but it's shot on video, not filmed like all the others. So Jeff Newman was the senior producer, didn't want to play it. I'm like, but listen, I met this guy, he's real cool. And I'm looking at the video, the music is straight up African. Let's get it started. You know what I'm saying? So now we the video. We go to one of the biggest music conferences, BRE, Black Radio Exclusive, Sidney Miller, may he rest in peace. He was like like an uncle to me. And I run into him and I go, look, we're playing the video, but this is the problem that I had. I said, so the problem is it's shot on video. I said, look at the nightly news and you'll see stuff over in Beirut and it's all grainy. And then they go to a commercial and you see Red Lobster, and you see how it looks. So he realized that. And he said, listen, I'm getting ready to sign a deal. And, every artist is getting ready to sign a record deal. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Now it comes time for us to do that second rap week, right?
Right.
The rap week. And so they offer to come bring Hammer in. And so I've always been into giving back. When I was in high school, a DJ came to our drama class, and that just inspired me to want to be a DJ. So it's always pass it forward. So we were working with Mayor Marion Barry's initiative to prevent teenage pregnancy. One of the things they realized, if you give people some hope and a desire, then it's not just them, having sex and getting pregnant. They now are. So we took MC Hammer, we took his brother Lewis, we took, rest in peace, Woody Johnson, who was with Capitol Records, who was the record rep. We had the marketing person for the record label, we had the publicist, and then we also had, may he rest in peace, Lonnie Duckett, who owned the limousine company. So myself and all of these folks, we were up on the stage. It wasn't just about Hammer, it wasn't about me, it was about all the people behind the scenes and how you could get into the music industry another way. So, hey, if you want to travel with Janet Jackson and do stuff, you need to be a publicist. You need to know how to write, And so we did that taped rap week. Bam, once again, highest ratings in history of BET. So we went from September to April, and 4 times BET increased in ratings. 3 out of those 4 was rap. I go on vacation, come back, and boom, guess what? We're going to do a rap show. And that rap show is, of course, Rap City. Now, here's the other thing. Remember when, I don't know if you guys remember when the Public Enemy first came on, and everybody's talking about how militant they are and this and this. So I'm backstage at a concert, and I see Chuck D with his daughter, Dominique, who's about 9 months old, and his wife. And I didn't see a militant. I saw a father and a husband. And I'm like, we have to humanize these human beings because, they try to make us like thugs and whatever. Remember, we used to have the Kango hats and chains and the tennis shoes. Back then, wearing tennis shoes was no, no, no. And if you had a beeper, it was so when your girl calls, you can catch up with it because you didn't have a cell phone. But they tried to make us look like we were criminals or thugs. And I'm like, no, we're human beings. So the one thing I wanted to do is to portray these young rappers, male and female, as human beings.
Humanizing them, definitely.
So here's what I looked at. Do you have children?
No.
All right. But here's the thing. If you're a parent, even if you're not, there's only one thing sadder than children being in the hospital. You know what that is?
What?
Being in the hospital during Christmas. So I went to Children's Hospital. I said, I want to do a Christmas special at Children's Hospital. And at first they were like, well, we don't know. We don't think the kids will like it. So I had 7 laugh acts. I'm trying to remember them. So it was Run DMC, Fat Boys, Chuck Chill Out, Blue Chip, MC like Kwame, De La Soul, and LL Cool J. And we took them over to Children's Hospital in Washington, D.C. Buffy from the Fat Boys had on a Santa Claus suit, and he went around to see all the kids. Oh, they loved him. They actually loved him. And so what we did is that each member, be it the DJ or the rapper, would have a little buddy sitting next to them. So it wasn't just us coming in. We came in and we shared the stage with these kids. And so this was done in the atrium of Children's Hospital in Washington, D.C., right? And so the kids were watching the whole 9 yards. And I got to tell you, I'm getting so excited, my camera's shaking. Just remember it. It was one of the best moments ever because other than the person who ran Master Control and made sure BET was on the air, everybody from BET was there. And to me, that was, people always ask me, what's the best moment? And most they think it's going to be rap battles and things like that. No, actually, my arm is falling asleep too. But actually, it was that moment because we showed that young Black men and women, boys and girls were human beings, that they were compassionate, and they weren't thugs. They were real human beings who had a heart.
That's true. Let me ask you a question. 19 years Rap City ran from 1989 to 2008. Did you ever feel the pressure of having to compete with Yo MTV Raps, or did you feel like they got more preferential treatment because they were on MTV? No, and I'm gonna tell you something. Everybody thinks about the rap battles and so forth with MTV. Everybody tried to put Yo MTV Raps and Rap City against each other in Video Vibrations. Ted Demme, rest his soul, wonderful man. We got along fabulously. I remember one time we were shooting something and either we ran out of battery or tape and Ted's like, yo, give them that. So the perceived beef never existed at all. We knew that we were both doing the same thing, and that was we were trying to highlight and illuminate rap music. And so I think Yo MTV Raps did well because of Rap City, and Rap City did well because of Yo MTV Raps. So we were complementary. You also made mention of Ralph McDaniel and Video Music Box. I grew up watching that myself and saw the significance of what it was in New York City and how you even had people from California who had heard about it and wanted to be a part of it. Did you ever consult with him on any of your endeavors with the making of Rap City? We talked, but I don't know if you say consult because everybody had their own thing, and we knew that it's like this. We respected each other and we gave everybody their lane. I know one time they shot a video and they let me be in it. I think it was the Shaniqua video. But it was we were just trying to figure this out. We didn't know where it was going. We were just having fun. We were living in the. Yeah. And I think that's what made it work because it was so organic. The basement component was not always a component on the show. It was popularized, I thought, when Tigger was doing a lot of the freestyles, and of course, just the whole show and that whole genre was there. Where did the basement component come from? I have no idea. I was gone.
Here's the whole thing. My job is to create something, plant a seed, make sure that it gets nurtured in what it does, and then give it to other people. It was funny because as we've come down to Atlanta for the Hip Hop Awards and we saw the documentary, it was the first time that all of us had been together. Some of the guys I didn't know what they looked like and had never met. But what I realized, we were family. We worked together. It shows what happened when Black folks work together. You don't worry about ego or trying to step on other people's toes. So my whole point of it is when you give something to someone and you know that they can handle it, you can move on to other stuff. So by that time, the basement was going on. Guess what I was doing? I was working with Microsoft, putting video online because back in 2006, they called it new music. So a buddy of mine from college, his wife was a meteorologist over in Seattle. And she'd been working in LA, and they had met working on a project and got married. She was in Seattle as a meteorologist. She was good friends with Bill Gates' mom. And so through that, they're like, hey, we're trying to do this thing. We're thinking about putting video online. We don't know. So right now you can get 4K video or 1080 or 720. Video back then was 320 by 240. So it was 25% of standard definition, nowhere near definition. And they didn't know. And, the one thing I've always been good at is being on the cutting edge. Melvin Lindsay, who created Quiet Storm, I was his understudy. BET, I got called. So my calling is always what's going on. What's the next episode? So we did that. We went backstage for the NAACP Image Awards. So we did Alicia Keys, we did Jamie Foxx, we had the cast of Grey's Anatomy. It was interesting because we did an interview with Isaiah Washington because he had won. It was funny because at that time he wasn't well established. So Microsoft says, we don't know about this guy. And that was Chris Brown. And so then we did Clive Davis's pre-Grammy party. And then we had pitched Microsoft about doing the Cannes Film Festival, but they figured, we were young, gifted, Black, and, but they figured we could not get any coverage. So they said, well, our person can't get in. So we ended up, remember the TV Guide channel?
Of course I do.
So we went to TV Guide channel, and guess what we did? Boom.
Yeah.
We went to Cannes, and we covered the cast of X-Men in Cannes. So by that time, like I said, I had moved on. Things were in place. And because they were in place, guess what? I didn't have to worry about that. So that's what made Rap City last for 19 years is getting the right people in, letting them see what's going on, let them figure it out, and let them put their own flavor in it. And I think if you look at it, I just saw a new Corvette. Looks great. But if you go back and look at the 1956 Corvette, that looked great also. And so it's still in that line. And I think we have to be able to say, hey, let's let it's now for that next person. Because think about it. Michael Jackson and Prince was Little Richard, Jackie Wilson, James Brown. And so that's the thing that I'm proud of is that I can start something, have an idea, pass it off, and somebody else just takes it to the next level. Look what Tigger and them did. Look what Mad Links and Shoe and the whole 9 yards. Big Les, a woman. I told Les, I said, last night, I said, Les, you are the Michelle Obama of hip hop. And so to me, that's what it's about. It's about that Black excellence. I want to see more folks work together. Hip hop is 50 now. Hip hop qualifies for the AARP membership. So the things that I was looking at in 1963 when I was 4 years old was about getting voting rights. We got them, and now they're trying to take them. We have to deal with things that are going on in the community. We still have to deal with anxiety. We still have to. It's not crack now, but now it's fentanyl. Hip hop is 50. Now we've got the 50 years. Let's do the next 50 going to 100. It's now time for hip hop to take on that responsibility. Like it says, now that we found love, people love hip hop. What are we going to do with it? How are we going to take our people to that next level? That's the challenge. And, I've been out of it, but now that you guys have called me back, I'm like, you know what? I'm ready. I'm like Muhammad Ali. I'm ready for that second round. Okay. I bet you wonder where I've been or search to find that love within. Been a long time since I left you. I got
without a dope beat to step to.
Well, now we're going to do something different because guess what? I started Rap City. We started working on that, what, about 35 years ago? I have learned so much. I've developed so much that I've kind of, like I said, been the victim of a selfish kind of love. I got to look, this is the whole thing with the solid coming back. They're like, yo, Alvin, what are you doing? Well, no, come back. I've been welcomed back, but if I'm going to come back, I got to come back stronger and bolder. And I got to figure a way to take everything I've learned. I spent 19 years up on the Hill covering the Hill. I understand that. I've gone to the ALEC conference and the CPAC conference, conservative conference. I know what they're thinking. I know what they're afraid of, but I also know how we can merge. So this is now the time for me to take that second step. I'm going to turn 65. I can't retire. I can't.
Mm-hmm. The incomparable Alvin Jones joins us and dropping a wealth of knowledge on hip hop, the formation of Rap City, and all of that encompasses everything from past to present. Before we get up out of here, what can people expect on this Rap City documentary that drops?
You know what I found out? It's like I didn't realize we were a part of history. It was almost like a history lesson. It was like the History Channel meets. It's amazing because at that time when you're in the frame, you can't see the picture, and the impact that we had, the fact that we represented not only hip hop culture but Black culture, and people could see themselves. And young folks can see someone that looks like them, and they had that pride, and they could wear the high tight fade, and they could do the dance and the whole 9 yards. It gave these young folks a sense of pride, which took them to thinking that they can do anything and be everything. And so they went to schools, they got trades, they got kids, and so forth. So if you really think about it, folks who have kids and mortgages and doing all these things, and who are in the C-suites and got their own businesses and doing their own thing, they grew up on hip hop. So hip hop is an air of good feelings. And that's the thing I really like about what we did. And you're going to see that and feel it in that documentary. That was the thing I was like. And the other thing, there was so many things we didn't know about the other host and what was going on. Joe Cliff talking about the fact that he did the last interview with Biggie. And when you see that interview, and this all starts on Tuesday, October 10th, 8 p.m. on BET, you'll see that Christopher Wallace was being interviewed, not Biggie Small. You saw that he was at peace. He didn't want any more beef. And it was just amazing. And it still has an impact on Joe Clair. Because he was like, when he found out that he passed, he's like, no, I was just with him. And that interview with Joe Clair and Biggie Smalls, in this case, Christopher Wallace, is one of the most impactful interviews in the history of hip hop.
In your mind, what made that interview so impactful?
It was the fact that you were talking to Christopher Wallace and you weren't talking to Biggie Smalls. You were talking to a human being looking at life in a certain way, and he wanted peace.
Fair enough. Rap City, the documentary drops. And I got a chance to the mind behind it, brother. Your presence does not go unnoticed. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Don't forget, it's Welcome to Rap City. 3 parts starts Tuesday, October 10th, 8 p.m. on BET.
You heard it first.